All right, let's turn our attention now, which has been a little bit dismal with those two topics, yeah, fires and school strike possibilities. Let's turn our attention to something that is really positive for the Tri-Cities, and that is the fact that there are basically two and now going to be a third Stern Wheeler companies basically coming all the way up the Columbia right to our doorstep here at the Richland docks there at Howard Amon Park, and people get off the ships and guess what they do? They spend money. That is stuff we love. That is music to our ears here. To talk about some of these tours that people are involved in and all is C. Mark Smith. Thank you so much for joining us today. Boy, I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Christine. It's great to be here with you.
Good. And, he is an author and has a lot of other accomplishments in his resume, as it were. And we're going to get to talk to him later, not today, but a different time, about the book that he wrote about Sam Volpintest, which here in the Tri-Cities is a very, very important man. But in the meantime, you're involved with the Stern Wheelers. So, first of all, you've been on these ships. I know you told me that you have not actually been on one of their cruises. What are they like, these Stern Wheelers?
Well, Christine, there's two, just to make a minor correction,
Okay.
there's
Okay.
two Stern Wheelers and what you might call an inter-island steamer.
Oh, okay.
So the third ship is not the third ship that's coming, called the SS Legacy, which will start, is going to make some pilot trips this year, but we'll start calling full-time in April, is kind of a steamer as opposed to a paddle wheeler. The other two boats are both paddle wheelers, and they look a lot alike. Wow. One of them is the American Empress, which holds 275 passengers and a crew of 70. It's 360 feet long.
Wow.
The second one is Queen of the West, which is about a third smaller and holds about 122 passengers. But back to the accommodations. It depends on the boat, and I have not been on the accommodations for the Queen of the West or the SS Legacy, but the American Empress, the big one, has a music hall. It has, as I said, a full-time crew of 70, which includes a wine sommelier and a complete 24-hour food service,
Wow.
a formal chandeliered dining room and a upper deck dining room, and staterooms all the way from one stateroom to 2 bedrooms and a sitting room.
Ooh, how nice. So where do people get on?
It depends on both the paddle wheelers go up the Columbia one week and go back down it the second week. My understanding is that the Legacy goes up and down in 1 week, so they're only at a port for a much smaller amount of time. So each of these companies has a different market and a different way of providing their cruise services. Just to expand on that a bit, there actually are 7 cruise ships on the Columbia, and 3 of them will be calling here, and these are the 3 largest ones. All the rest, the other 4, are all smaller. Anyway, if you let's say you fly into Portland, and you get on at Portland, they then go out to Astoria and do a Lewis and Clark thing out there, and then come back and bypass the Willamette and stop at Stevenson, and then the Dalles, and then Richland, and then Lewiston Clarkston. And then those people get off there and they're bussed up to Spokane, and they fly out of Spokane, and then the next group flies into Spokane and they're bussed down to Lewiston,
okay.
Clarkston, and then
So,
they come
all
back
right.
down to Portland.
I was thinking it was a round trip.
No,
But it is not.
It's
Okay.
one way.
Okay, it's one way. That is pretty exciting. These are, that's quite a gem for us to have the ship stopping in Richland.
it is, and these people are really interesting people. Obviously, they're wealthy enough to afford the cruise, which is not inexpensive, and they are they're from all over the United States. I would say maybe a majority from maybe the Central Valley of California, West Texas, Central Florida, but from all over. And also maybe 5% of the passengers are from all over the world.
Hmm. Well, interesting, because it kind of sounds to me you're describing a little bit about like some European river cruises as well, where people are getting to see a lot of sights from the ship itself and then also get to make stops along the way. All right, I want to talk about the stops here in Richland because it's kind of curious, I think. What do people see about our community when they get off?
Okay, so our group, which is kind of sponsored by the Tri-Cities Visitor and Convention Bureau, although we are paid by the individual tour providers for our services, but we wear Visit Tri-Cities shirts, and so they know who we represent. And for the American Empress, they have their own luxury buses that follow the boat up and down the river. They have 3 55-passenger wheelchair-equipped, leather-seated Van Hool buses that are
Wow,
made in
yeah.
Belgium and
Nice.
shipped over here.
Mm.
And they follow the ship. So when the boat docks at Howard Amon, the buses are right there to pick up the passengers. And depending on what day it is, on the trip going down to Portland, they stop here on Tuesdays. On the trip going up to Lewiston, Clarkston, they're here on Thursdays and Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
So they stay overnight in both cases. So they come in, the buses meet them. Each passenger has, as a part of their ticket, has paid for what they call a hop-on, hop-off tour at each stop along the way. And these are basically tours of local destinations. In our case, we take them to the Reach. Then we take them to Sacagawea Park, so that's the place, of course, where Lewis and Clark came down the Snake River and entered the Columbia. So it's very important for the Lewis and Clark aspect of the trip. And then we take them to the Franklin County Historical Society, where they learn about the Northern Pacific Railroad and the founding of Pasco and agribusiness and a whole lot of pretty neat things. And then we take them back to the boat. Now those tours leave the boat every half hour, so somebody can go to the Reach, and if they want to stay at the Reach for 3 hours, they can, and get on the last bus back to the boat, or they can stay there a half an hour and get on the next bus and it comes. And it's the same at every one of those stops.
Mm-hmm.
And then in addition to that, we have premium tours. And these are extra cost over and above their basic ticket.
So
And-
I want you to save that premium
Okay.
tour because we're going to take a break right here, but we'll be back to find out the location of where people go when they pay a little extra. All right, this is Meet in the Middle. I'm Christine Brown on this Monday. Stay with us. Hey, welcome back. My guest today is C. Mark Smith, and he organizes some of the tours on land here for the folks doing cruises up the Columbia River and the stop off in Richland. So you were talking about the premium tour. So the basic tour, people can hop on, hop off. It's very similar to, geez, some European types of events where people, there are constant movement of buses, and you can get on or get off, and that's part of your ticket. Now we're talking about extra tours.
Okay, at every stop, they also offer premium tours that are extra over and above the cost of their ticket. And so if you go to Astoria, you can do a day-long Lewis and Clark experience where you go to Cape Disappointment and to Fort Clatsop and get a lot of Lewis and Clark stuff. Here in the Tri-Cities, we take them to Red Mountain.
Nice.
We always do one bus, and most weeks in the height of the season we do 2 buses. And we take 25 people on each bus, even though the buses hold 55 passengers. And that's because we don't want to overload the tasting rooms at any of the wineries with 50 people. So 25 is about what they can handle easily. So we space them out so they don't have to handle all the people at one time. And so we, in our case, we start out at Walter Clore Wine and Culinary Center, which is not a winery, but a great introduction to Washington State wine, operated by the Washington Wine Commission. They get to taste wine there that might be from here, or it might be from Puget Sound, or it might be from Lake Chelan or Spokane, and the wine changes every week, so you never know what you're going to have there.
Mm-hmm.
They do a great explanation of Washington and the different American viticultural areas that we have in the state, and they have a map, and so everybody gets a good introduction to Washington wine. Then we take them to Kiona, very pioneer winery on Red Mountain, started in 1975 as a result actually of Dr. Clore's wine study. Kiona's great because they offer a very wide selection of wine and a very positive price point. So you get a great selection of different wines, and it's a good value. Then we go to Hedges Wine Estates, where where the wine tasting room is in a chalet, French chalet, that replicates Anne Marie Hedges' family home when she grew up in the Champagne region of France. So they taste 5 different wines at Hedges, all the way from maybe a $15 a bottle red or white blend, all the way up to maybe a $75 bottle of wine, and it's in absolutely beautiful surroundings. And the vineyard there's not a weed in that vineyard, and it is just spectacular. Then we take them to the new Black Heron Distillery in West Richland,
Mm-hmm.
and they make 11 different kinds of distilled alcoholic products, all the way from moonshine to various kinds of malt liquors and to blackberry cordials and
Mm-hmm.
lemonella and a
Mm-hmm.
variety of different things. And I kind of thought that maybe that might be a stretch, particularly after they'd been to 3 wine stops, but they love it. I mean, the passengers.
Oh, I'm sure. What do people say? What do visitors
Well,
say?
they're surprised. I mean, they go back and they get not very many people have been to a winery, let alone a distillery.
Yes.
And because these people obviously, for the most part, are coming from states that don't have a major wine industry, and some of them come from Kentucky, and where they know all about distilling, but many don't. And so Mark Williams, who runs that business, is very enthusiastic and does a great job of selling his product and tell them about it. And he's got a 12-year-old daughter that sells them handmade soap that she makes, and they love that. And
are people buying wine large quantities to ship or take with them, or what?
I would say most people buy a bottle or 2,
Mm-hmm.
but some people buy. I've seen people buy as many as half a dozen cases. And have the winery ship them. It's kind of interesting because, as you may know, many states don't allow
Mm-hmm.
wines to be imported, particularly in the South. Allow wines to be imported in. So this last tour, we had some people from Georgia that bought 3 cases of wine and had it shipped to friend's house in Florida, which does accept wine, and then they were going to drive down after they got home and pick up the wine and take it back to Georgia.
Oh, that's the kind of stories we like here out of Washington, that's for sure. So I know that some local people can be guides on some of these various tours. How does that work? I've met several people, and they just seem to really love that job.
It's a great job. None of us had any idea what it was going to be when we first found out about it, and I was approached by the Visitor and Convention Bureau to see if I could put together some guides, because they didn't have a program. And so I approached people. Most of them are retired.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are elected public officials. Some of them are former businessmen. Some of them are school teachers. Some of them are homemakers that are really involved in the community. I think some of them are farmers. I think a couple of them are scientists out at Hanford, are retired. I think the major criteria is that you have to know a little bit about a lot of things. And since I spent 40 years in economic development, that was my forte all of those years. I didn't know much about anything, but I knew a little bit about a lot of things. And these people are all pretty similar people. I've found that past Kennewick Men of the Year or late Women of the Year make very good guides.
Oh, wow.
We've got 2 former broadcasters. I guess that they fill the category of not knowing much about anything and knowing a little bit about a lot of things.
We'll talk to that. We'll talk to that.
Yes, okay.
So that's the kind of people we have. We have 16 of them. And right now we provide tours for the American Empress, but when the Legacy starts docking here next year, we're going to be in discussions with them. They're looking for local reenactors. So if you have some listeners who might want to be a Hanford reenactor or a Lewis and Clark reenactor or something else about our area, maybe a winemaker reenactor, maybe they could contact you and you could get me their names, because
I'd be happy to pass that on. Sure.
we're going to start putting together a list. We don't know any details yet, and we don't know what the remuneration or anything is going to be, and we're just starting to talk to them in September.
All right, boy, where can people get more information? We're almost out of time here, but if anybody else wants other information, did they go to the American Empress?
No, the website is shoreexcursionsofamerica.com.
All right, Shore Excursions of America.
All one word.
.com. Okay, .com. Sounds great. C. Mark Smith, thank you so much. This was very interesting. We've learned a lot about tours coming here from River Cruises. That's great. Good for business here.
Thanks a lot, Christine.
All right. We're back in a moment here on this Monday. Stay with us.